Hey everyone, welcome back. Coach Chris here. Today I want to talk about, growth, our own personal growth. And I have a philosophy about that, which you don't have to adopt my philosophy. Obviously, everybody should have their own ways of, looking at life and taking the steps that they feel are appropriate for them to achieve their goals and move in the direction that they want to move into. Which brings me to the first point. I think in life, there's no standing still, which I'm sure we've all heard that before. So we're either moving forward or we're sliding back or moving backwards. And I talk about this all the time as far as like what we're exposed to because, when you start to do your research and you see the MO, the modus operandi, the same behavior day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, decade in, decade out, century in, century out. It's basically been going on for a long time, to put it, bluntly. And that is, somebody's always been trying to control and manipulate the masses. And that can be accomplished when people are compliant and not really paying attention to what's happening around them, or think that nothing's really happening when something really is happening. And then when somebody does point it out to those people that aren't aware of it, then obviously you sound like you're crazy or a raving lunatic, which has been said many times as well. So that's the thing, a lot of things have been said many times, and I mean, obviously if somebody's saying something that you're hearing it from many different people, from many different sources, from many different places, then there must be some truth to that, and it should be something that should be paid attention to. But back to the philosophy I was talking about, which is, for me, it's like, if something is not like helping you to make yourself better, give you more clarity, strengthening your mind, your body, your spirit, making you a better person, making you feel more knowledgeable, and not feel knowledgeable, but giving you more knowledge, making this journey more, let's say the journey is becoming more relevant. The things that you engage in, you feel like they're enhancing you in your life and making you feel, valuable, and making you feel good about yourself, which obviously is something that we should be doing for ourselves anyway. It's not the case though. A lot of times we look outside ourselves for, validation and to make ourselves feel good based on how other people view us. And so that's something that's taught. I just talked about the things that, day in, day out, week in, week out, so on and so forth, that we experience and exposed to certain things that, affect us on a psychic level, which means your mind. And if you're not aware that that's happening, then you're susceptible to it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And a good majority of people are susceptible to it. I mean, there's a lot of things that have already transpired that kind of really, flagged it for people or showed whether somebody's awake or not. And I would say the last 3 years really were a strong indicator of people that is, awake. And I'm not talking about this woke stuff that they use. These different terminologies and different, labels that are slapped on humans to make them, separate themselves from others or to think that they're different from others. I mean, as human beings, we obviously have more in common than we do have different. And, if you have done any research, well, I'm going to point out some things. Even if you haven't done the research, I'll point it out to you. And then, of course, you can follow up with your own research. But it said that when, we first go to school, the things that we're taught are not like to look for similarities, but it's always to look for the difference between colors and shapes and so on and so forth, which is, there's nothing wrong with being able to distinguish one thing from another. But if the emphasis is on how things are different, then that breeds a certain mentality, which brings me to another point I want to make, which is the mind. And, don't think that somebody hasn't really done research and experiments to determine exactly, how the mind works, how it's moved, as far as what makes people behave one way or behave another way, or what motivates people, what keeps people, down, fear, obviously. And then that fear thing obviously comes from, well, it's not obvious, but fear comes from the fact that people, in my opinion, fear is that people don't really recognize who they are, what they're capable of, and so they let somebody else kind of dictate, what they think, what they believe, what they should think, what they should believe, what they should be doing, and limiting ourselves as to what we expose ourselves to, and accepting, what's available, from an information standpoint, science, history, religion, politics, even medicine and so on and so forth, all the things that, are presented, and sometimes they're not even like valid or let's say the most, effective or efficient or efficacious, which just means, have the ability to really do what they're supposed to do. We're presented with all types of things that really are somebody else's idea of how we should, respond to, treat, deal with, encounter, act, as opposed to us trusting our own selves. So again, I'm gonna keep this video short, but the point again I want to make is that, when you look at the things that you're engaged in, the things that you expose yourself to, the people that you surround yourself with, are they contributing to your growth and development? And it's not even somebody else's responsibility. The point being, if you are putting yourself in a position where you are not growing or expanding or becoming more informed about yourself, your experience, your life, this whole journey that we're on, then what's the purpose? I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun and enjoy yourself, because obviously there's nothing wrong with, like, as I said before, watching a game or watching a movie or having a glass of wine or, playing sports and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about just on a general basis, on their everyday basis. How much of your time do you spend, like, absorbed in the media? The media, when you look at the media, and that's all its forms. That can be movies, that can be TV, and that's Netflix, Showtime, HBO, all that stuff. It could be the news, it can be music, just things that they're either, like I said, we're moving one way or the other. Either they're like helping us to like grow and expand, or they're, pulling us in the other direction. And when I say growth and expansion, that also just means, like, it's something like contributing to your peace of mind, or is it creating some type of stress? And stress can be many forms, like resistance or anger or frustration, so on and so forth. If it's not contributing to peace, to me, which is like an opportunity to at least experience yourself in a place where you're not disturbed by, external negativity. So you don't necessarily have to meditate to be, at a place of peace, but just be in a place where you're not exposing yourself to things that have no, positive or let's say a higher frequency of vibration that enhances you or your frequency of vibration, because everything has a vibration. And I've done videos on that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I just wanted to talk a little bit today about, whether something is either bringing you up or pulling you down, and being, conscious of which one is occurring, and limiting the things that can, bring you down. I guess when you say down, so down means what? What are you talking about? We're talking about energy, we're talking about frequency, we're talking about vibration, basically. And so the things that lift you up, but it's also about having more clarity about, self, source. I don't want to get religious here, but just connecting to the part of you that you feel has your best interest. Because there's a part of you that does have that, and it's just a matter of being tuned into it, as opposed to it being, suppressed or being blocked, or, that gets in the ego, which we can talk about ego a little bit later, but I'm just saying the ego, is like, it's designed to help you survive, and it's just based on, it's not designed, it's that part of us that does do that, but it is based on our experiences, and it's based on just our exposure. See, a lot of our, behavior, habits and thoughts and actions and beliefs are all based on exposure, environment, what we exposed to. And so again, so when you're paying attention to what you're exposed to and how it makes you feel and which way is it moving you, then you can determine whether it's beneficial or not. So I'm doing these videos and I always forget to mention my book. And my videos are not necessarily about my book, but of course I want to mention my book. I did, write a book about a month or so ago, and it's called Innerstanding, which is, grasping this information and, tuning into the inner realm, the inner self, that higher self within us. And then from there we can create our life from it. So it's understanding, creating your life from the inside out. And of course, if you're creating from the outside in, that means that we're basically intaking things that are coming in from the media and other sources and using that to mold and shape, who we are, when it should be the other way around. So pay attention to what you expose yourself to. And of course, I'm just offering information here. I'm not obviously telling anybody what they can and can't do and what they should or shouldn't do. That's your choice. But I think in the video I did before this, I did mention how we have a natural level of peace and, homeostasis, which is our natural level of, balance, where we're balanced. And I mentioned how if you look at, what we're exposed to on a daily basis, or what's out there to try that, the main or majority or the mass of information, or just, let's say, I don't say information, but, how energy is coming at you and the type of energy that it is. If you watch the news, if you listen to certain types of music, if you watch for example, on Netflix, I call it the kill movies, because I think 90% of the movies on Netflix are about kill. Whatever, that's, if you want to watch that, that's fine. But the point is, when we expose that on a daily basis, it does affect our energy. So we have a choice. And when we're not exposed to that, then I think we'll just kind of level off. You'll level up, and that's very challenging to be in a place where there's no exposure. That's, people kind of find their balance when they take time to themselves, when they cut off all of the external, feed that's coming in, whatever way it's coming. When they cut that off, then they kind of tune into inner self, and they find, peace within, and they connect to that part of them that, is going to guide them in the right direction, and just listen to that. Anyway. So pay attention to what you expose yourself to, and pay attention to which way it's trying to direct you and your energy. As always, share the knowledge, and I'll talk to you again soon. Peace. I'll put the links to my book and the title of the book in the description below. So take care.